What's the dumbest thing your significant other has said or done? Current GF thought that the movie showings during the day were manatee shows. I had to explain to her that they are in fact matinee shows. Edit also convinced my ex-wife that the little pepper balls you grind to make pepper were the seeds from a pepperoni plant and that pepperoni wasn't actually meat and grew straight up out of the ground like an earth dick. She told me she only waxes her legs, because if you shave one hair, then it splits and two grow back in its place. I asked him to plant a baby tree in the back garden. The next day I saw it and thought it looked strange. Walked up and it had been planted upside down. He thought the roots were tiny limp branches. Laughed for days. She's not very good with words and English is her first language. I got freezer bite on my hands. Her idioms also need some work. You sound like the wolf who cried. You opened up a whole new worm. I had a kid prior to getting together with my fiancé and having a second daughter. The father of my eldest is not in the picture and my wonderful fiancé has taken her on as his own. To the point that he frequently forgets that she isn't his genetic offspring. We were at a holiday party at his parents' house. I was talking to my future Sil about my eldest and her night terrors when fiancé pops off with "she gets that from my side of the family." Cue really confused faces all around. His sister sat there and started questioning what other genetic diseases my eldest has magically got from stepdad. It took a few minutes before he figured it out. I love this man. We bought a new car. She asked me if I changed the settings to Spanish because it said "ajar" on the dash when the door was open. As I'm in labor with our daughter, my husband asks, "Do you want her to have an innie or an outie belly button?" Weird question, but whatever. So I tell him I don't mind either way, both are cute. And then he says, "Yeah, but when the doctor asks, which should we pick for her?" He thought when they clamp the umbilical cord, parents tell the doctor the type of belly button they prefer. He's really smart, I promise. When my wife and I started dating in the mid-1980s, she knew I was a huge fan of David Letterman. She said she had a huge surprise for me as she had tickets to see Letterman at a local venue. I was confused since David Letterman did not tour. I looked at the tickets she purchased and they were for the old 60s band, the Letterman. We didn't go, but I married her. 30 years this September. I'll answer for my wife. I had gone to Home Depot to pick up a trailer hitch ball for my truck. I didn't realize that they had different shaft sizes, and I didn't know which size I needed, so I called my wife and this conversation took place. Me, "Are you at the house?" Her, "Yeah, why?" Me, "Can you go out to the driveway and measure the hole in the bumper of my truck? It should be either 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch." There's a pause. Her, "Isn't your truck with you?" "Yes. Yes it was. That was how I had gotten to Home Depot. I forgot." One time my husband called me at work, "Babe, you're gonna be mad, I made a mess but don't worry, I'll fix it." I didn't even ask, just sighed, because he is basically Lucy from I Love Lucy. When I got home a little bit later, it was to a living room covered in grey powder, my husband completely filthy with a trash bag and broom and a super panicked look on his face. Turned out he'd decided to help around the house and wanted to clean the fireplace. He'd just decided the best way to do it would be to stand in front of it with a trash bag and use the leaf blower to blow the ashes in. Spoiler, that doesn't work. I didn't want to hurt his feelings, but I laughed my ass off and it's still one of my favorite weird things he's done. My favorite memory of my parents is going to some fast food joint, through the drive-thru. Mom is driving and giving our orders to the cashier. Just as she finishes, my dad casually says, "To go, my mom," and she turns back to the cashier and says, "To go." 2 seconds of buffering later and she slaps my dad full on in the chest, who is laughing fucking hysterically. Don't think we've ever let her live that down. Edit, holy shit, thanks for the silver yawl. My girlfriend in college attended my graduation and afterwards says to me, "Man, there were a lot of people with the name Lordy." Each time someone was given their degree, it was announced whether they were graduating cum laude or not. My girlfriend thought America's largest family graduated from university with me that day, the Lordy family, and they all looked unrelated. My boyfriend, as we were looking up at the beautiful night sky. Wow, there's so much we don't know about the universe. Like where the stars go during the day. Are they still there? If not, where do they go? He was dead serious. My deeply intelligent wife lost her car. Like left it in a parking lot and somehow got home on Friday. Monday morning I get a text, "Where's my car? She's gonna finish her medical degree next year." My husband and I were at Canadian Tire and they had tiny examples of tents, basically looked like they were made for Barbie dolls, and the pricing for each underneath. He turned to me shocked and asked, "Why are these so expensive for such tiny tents?" I almost died laughing. I showed her how to crack an egg by tapping it against another egg, and she thought this meant any amount of force would be absorbed by only one egg, and smashed 2 eggs together, spraying yolk everywhere. My now ex-girlfriend got a Polaroid camera for Christmas. Jokingly one day I said, "Does it take videos?" And she very seriously said, "I'm sure it does, but I haven't tried that feature yet." As we were driving along the road we saw a horse with its head over a gate. We slowed down, she opens the window and says, "Moo." We were sitting in a bus in the middle of heavy rush hour traffic. I'm kind of a car geek, so I spotted a mint-condition 1970s classic Mustang. I just went and said, "Look honey. A car." There were hundreds of them. I don't think she'll let me live this down. We were on a walk, in a rural area with lots of farmers' fields full of sheep and cows. She looks off to a field in the distance, turns around to me and says, "Why do they keep birds in a field?" Edit, worded badly, they were actually birds in the field, but it was in fact an empty field with birds just hanging out, and she thought it was some kind of bird farm, haha. She ate cold turkey to try and quit smoking. Once me and Misa went for a walk around a local nature reserve. On the way in we got a map given to us so we could navigate the area. Later on the walk she is looking at the map and says to me, "These maps really need a 'you are here' on them." It took me a second to realize what she meant, so I explained that it's a handheld map and that it wouldn't be possible. It took 4/5 attempts before it clicked with her. Edit, thank you for my first silver. I love my husband, but I have watched him empty a vacuum cleaner bag into a wire wastebasket. I, on the other hand, am frequently unable to remember common words and have to resort to saying things like, "the box you put stuff in to make it cold." My boyfriend thought that a sushi roll was a cross-section of a raw eel. One time while dating my now wife, we got into a playful pinching fight while I was driving, probably not a great idea, but we were young. She starts getting frustrated and pinching harder, but my right arm was hooked on her left arm, like when you walk together with your arms hooked in movies. She pinched herself and thought it was me. She pinched so hard she screamed and got mad. Her next reaction was what made me almost crash. She doubled down and did it again harder and screamed even louder. Somehow she didn't realize it was her arm the way we were hooked together, even though in that position I had no way to touch her. She was getting pissed because I was cracking up. Just remembering her anger then confusing always makes me laugh. Edit, wow, gold and silver thanks. My wife says it's not cool you all laughing at her. I'm glad everyone enjoyed the story though.